It's amazing how about 38 hours of lecture a week in German will make you a whole lot more fluent.
I'm here at Silverado Vineyards, and I'm here with winemaker Alison Rodriguez. Alison, how are you?
I'm doing great, Ray. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on the program. Are you guys doing an auction lot this year?
We are. We have auction lot number 133, and it is called our Caldera Cabernet. So Caldera being... well, as you might imagine, an ancient volcanic caldera. There's only one in Napa, and it is essentially the basis of the entire Coombsville AVA. Our Caldera Cabernet comes from the western and southwestern facing slopes of that caldera. So these are sort of the upper reaches of our Mount George Estate Vineyard. We have about 110 acres out there. And beautiful, beautiful soil topography and terroir for growing great Bordeaux varietals.
Well, let's talk about you and your background, which is, of course, one of my favorite subjects. How did you come to wine? How did you end up in this absolutely crazy fun industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of people, I came to wine a little bit by accident. You know, nobody tells a kid in elementary, well, very few people tell kids in elementary school, like, hey, you can become a winemaker.
Sure.
This is a thing.
Yeah.
So I came to wine actually because I worked with wine out of college in more of a sales capacity and marketing capacity. And after about 5 years of doing that, I really decided that I was... You know, I loved the world of wine that I was in, but I was maybe not precisely in the best place for me. I'd always been interested in science as a kid. You know, didn't matter what it was, biology, chemistry, biochemistry, meteorology, and that was really my true passion. So I took a little bit of a left turn from sales in wine, and quit my job and went back to school to get a winemaking degree.
Wow.
So, yeah. And at the time, I was living and working in Germany. So I had this amazing possibility to go to school at Germany's premier winemaking school called Geisenheim. It's the Fachhochschule Geisenheim. And really work with people who have been in and around wine and vineyards for literally centuries. So I was one of 100 students in my class. I was the only American. I was one of only 4, non-German students. And I just had an incredible experience there. I mean, Germany is a really fascinating place to learn winemaking. I had been working and living there for about 3 years before I went back to school. So, yeah, and the schooling itself was tremendous because, as you can imagine, Germany is a little bit more fragmented from a wine landscape. Many small landholders, many small wineries. Maybe they have, I think on average, 10 to 15 hectare apiece, right? So these are incredibly determined individuals who they are German, right? It helps, but they're very determined because they literally have to do everything. They have to really understand, know, and work with their land. They have to also be able to make their own wine. They have to be able to market and sell their own wine. They have to be able to do imports and exports and source materials like things like corks and labels and right. So they are like, I don't want to call it like a one-man band, but it is a lot for some of these smaller places. And to me, that was a tremendous advantage because I got to learn how to do all of those things.
Oh, yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah.
You become very resourceful.
You become very resourceful. And, I think we spent, for certain at Geisenheim, we spent more of our, classroom hours, if you will, on classroom and practical learning hours on vineyard and viticulture than we did actually on winemaking. Not to say we didn't spend any time on winemaking, clearly.
I imagine.
Clearly we had to do that too.
Yeah.
But I think it was a great synthesis of, both sides of those things that are incredibly important for what I do now, which is make, outstanding world-class Napa Valley Cabernet.
I mean, you came back to the States, is that, and you entered into the business. I mean, how did that work for you?
Yeah, well, I kind of call winemaking the world's last apprenticeship. I'm pretty sure it's not, but it sort of feels that way, right? You go through school, and, while I was in school, I did a lot of different internships, both in the vineyard, in the winery, and also, put myself through school working as a sommelier. So I'm like building a lot of that sort of classical knowledge. Sure. But then comes the time that you actually have to do everything with your own hands, right? So you have to learn from the ground up. So you start, of course, by working harvests and vintages. Then you start kind of low on the totem pole as an enologist, which I did at Acacia Vineyard down in Carneros.
Sure.
Beautiful, awesome, estate-based Pinot Noir, Chardonnay vineyard. And you work your way up from there, right? So I've had the opportunity to work with every AVA in the valley through Acacia Vineyards, through working with Sterling Vineyards as well. I worked there for about 7 years, and we had 1,000 acres of estate vineyards there. Worked with Lori Hook and Mark Behringer over at Behringer in St. Helena, which was an incredible time of learning.
Oh, I bet.
Amazing vineyards to work with as well. And then also worked with Dave Guffey and Celia Welch up on Mount Veeder with my 6 years that I spent with the Hess Collection. So it was a tremendous tour of this valley to really understand the terroir. Have to admit, I was mostly attracted to the hillsides. I kind of got into the hillside winemaking thing in Germany and sort of never left. And now I find myself here at Silverado with an incredible 335 acres of estate vineyards to work with. And it's all we do, right? That's all we do. Every single drop of Silverado comes from one of our own vines on our own vineyards, period.
What makes you crazy about the wine business? And that could really go positive or negative, depending.
Yeah, I was going to say, in which sense of the word?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. I have to be honest. I really love what I do. I think there is potentially a tendency to work too much, right? I've noticed. I mean, for real. But let's be honest. It's also fun. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. I don't mind taking my homework home with me, right? It's never a bad day. I think just being very passionate about what we do generally as winemakers, I've kind of noticed this in acquaintances, but also very good friends of mine that are winemakers, is we love what we do so much. And it is exciting, and it is interwoven into our daily lives. So perhaps there can be a tendency to really, work really hard. And this place, Napa Valley, is, what could I liken it to? Like if you wanted to be a musical theater star, you would want to go work on Broadway,
sure.
Right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
If you want to be part of the best, in terms of specifically Cabernet, but certainly not only Cabernet winemaking, then Napa Valley is the place to be. And everybody who's here had to work very hard to get here.
The building here, the winery, the tasting room at Silverado is just an extraordinary space. It really is genuinely beautiful. Specifically for people who want to come here and taste, I'm assuming it's by appointment, or can people walk in? How does it work?
We are technically by appointment, but our appointments are, I think around the valley, appointments are pretty, usually pretty easy to get. We keep to a by appointment system because we want to make sure that every visitor here knows that they have, the time, they have our full attention, they get the full, care and amazing experience that we are renowned for. And we don't want to hurry that. We don't want to rush that. So we have an amazing hospitality team here who are unbelievably professional in everything they do and are a treat to taste with. So we love to welcome guests. If people don't happen to have an appointment with us, they are always welcome to call us, even as they're driving up to the winery. We love to share everything about Silverado with all of our awesome guests.
That's what wine's all about, is sharing. And for our listeners who'd like to learn about you online, what is your website?
It is www.silveradovineyards.com.
Great. Alison, this is a lot of fun talking to you. You have a great sense of humor, and your passion does show through, which is very, I don't want to say it's typical of winemakers, but it's just one of my joys in doing this.
Yeah.
Thank you for making the time during a very busy week. I appreciate it.
I really appreciate you stopping by, Ray, and thanks. You're welcome anytime.